The red warning lights filled the council chamber as the massive star chart flickered on the main screen. Ambassador Clethnar's multiple eyes widened at what he saw. A thin line marked the edge of human space. Beyond that line, every map went blank. 300 years, Clethnar said in a low voice. 300 years since anyone dared cross that boundary. The other ambassadors shifted in their seats. The Qatari representative's feathers ruffled nervously. The Zexali ambassador's tentacles coiled tight around his support pod. Everyone in the room knew the stories. The tales spoke of ships that approached human space, only to be found weeks later floating dead in space. Light years away, Captain Lisa Brown stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon. She sipped her coffee while staring at the star map displayed on the front screen. The edge of human space appeared as a glowing line on the tactical display. "Captain," called out Steve Miller from the science station. "I'm picking up something odd." Lisa set down her cup and walked over. The blue lights of the science console reflected off her face as she looked at the readings. "It's a distress signal," Steve said, "but it's coming from outside our borders." Rick Davis, the chief engineer, joined them. His coveralls were streaked with grease from working on the power systems. "Whose signal is it?" "Unknown," Steve replied. "The transmission pattern doesn't match any race we've encountered." Lisa tapped her communicator. "Bridge to sensor control. Run a detailed scan of the signal source." The voice from sensor control came back quickly. "Captain, we're detecting an object approaching the border zone. It appears to be an alien probe. Outer hull shows signs of damage." Lisa frowned. She knew the rules. No one approached human space without permission. The boundaries had been set. For good reason, though most citizens didn't know the full story. Aboard the research vessel Unity, Rachel Jones focused her microscope on a sample of exotic radiation. As a xenobiologist, she studied how different energy forms affected living tissue. Her latest research tracked unusual patterns along the human border. "These readings are odd," she said to her assistant, Mark Webb. "The energy signatures suggest some kind of defensive system, but it's been dormant for decades." Mark looked up from his console. "The last recorded activation was 70 years ago, when the Dreth tried to send an ambassador." Rachel nodded, remembering the story. The Dreth ship had been stopped by an invisible barrier. No damage, no violence, just a complete shutdown of their systems until they retreated. Back in the council chamber, Vexra of the Dreth Collective stood up. His gray skin rippled with tension as he addressed the gathering. "Our ancestors learned a hard lesson that day," Vexra said. "We approached with open hands, speaking words of peace. The humans did not attack us. They didn't need to. Our ship simply stopped working until we backed away." The Qatari ambassador spoke next. "My people attempted contact 60 years ago. We lost 3 scout ships. They were returned to us weeks later, crews unharmed but changed. They refused to speak of what happened." Clethnar accessed the council's historical database. Images flashed across the screen showing various races' first contact attempts with humanity. Each ended the same way: ships disabled, crews returned, and a clear message: stay away. "The humans call it their exclusion zone," Clethnar explained. "Their maps clearly mark it. No trade, no diplomacy, no contact." On the USS Horizon, Lisa received an update from the probe. It had crossed into human space, triggering automatic defense systems. "Captain," Steve called out. "The probe is sending out a repeating message. It's asking for help. Can we translate it? Working on it." Steve's fingers flew across his console. "Got it. They're saying their ship was attacked by pirates. They fled blindly and ended up here." Lisa knew the protocol. Nothing could be permitted to enter human space without authorization, yet the probe was clearly in distress. "Open a channel," she ordered. The communication officer, Amy Mitchell, worked quickly. "Channel open, Captain." "Attention, unknown vessel," Lisa said clearly. "You have entered restricted space. State your identity and purpose." Static filled the PI. Speakers before a weak voice responded. "This is emergency escape pod Zek 7. Our ship was destroyed. Please, we need help." Rick shook his head. Captain, if we help them, it would be the first time in 300 years that humans have assisted someone from outside. Lisa understood the weight of that decision. The isolation policy had kept Earth safe for generations. The human military had grown strong in that time, developing technology that other races couldn't match. But at what cost? Aboard the Unity, Rachel's instruments suddenly went wild. Mark, look at this. The defense grid is activating. Energy readings spiked across their sensors. The invisible barrier that surrounded human space came alive with power. Whatever triggered it, Mark said, it's big. In the council chamber, alarms began sounding. The Qatari ambassador clutched his perch in alarm. The human border shields, he said. They're powering up for the first time in decades. Klethnar immediately called for emergency protocols. All ships are to maintain current positions. No one approaches human space. No exceptions. The Zexili ambassador's tentacles trembled. But what if they need our help? We offer no help, Vexra said firmly. We've learned this lesson too many times. The humans prefer isolation, and we respect that. The legends say they're not just protecting themselves, they're protecting us from them. Back on the horizon, Lisa faced her decision. The probe continued its distress calls. Her crew waited for orders. Amy, patch me through to Earth Command, Lisa said finally. Connection established, Captain. A gruff voice came through the speakers. This is Admiral James Mitchell. What's your situation, Horizon? We have a distressed alien probe at the border, sir. It claims to be fleeing pirates, requesting instructions. There was a long pause. Finally, the Admiral responded. Captain Brown, do you know why we maintain these borders? To keep others out, sir. No, Captain. To keep us in. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Sir? You were not born when we made first contact. You didn't see what humans can become when pushed. The boundaries protect everyone, them from us and us from ourselves. Under no circumstances is that probe to enter our space. As the Admiral's words sank in, Lisa realized the truth. Humanity's isolation wasn't fear of other races. It was fear of their own potential for destruction. The galaxy had learned to avoid human space not because humans were weak, but because they were too strong. The probe continued its distress signals, trapped between death and the unknown horrors that human space might hold. And Lisa Brown, captain of the USS Horizon, had to decide whether to uphold 3 centuries of isolation or risk everything to save a stranger. The red lights in the council chamber continued to flash their warning. The star map still showed that empty space beyond human borders, and somewhere in the void, an alien probe waited for help that might never come. The galaxy held its breath, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything they thought. They knew about humanity. The warning had been clear for 300 years. The galactic map ends at human space, and now everyone would learn why no one dared to cross it. The message came through on a secured channel. Emperor Kelnath of the Throny Empire sat in his shimmering throne, ignoring his council's warnings. His empire had conquered dozens of worlds. Surely humans couldn't be as dangerous as the old stories claimed. Prepare 3 scout ships, the Emperor commanded. His military advisor, General Vork, bowed deeply. Your Majesty, the last attempt by any species was 50 years ago. The results were disturbing. I've made my decision, Kelnath said firmly. Captain Edwards of their own species now serves with us. He understands humans better than anyone. The bridge of the USS Explorer, Bill Edwards checked his weapon systems one last time. The Throny had offered him wealth beyond imagination to help them understand human space. As a former Earth military officer, he knew the protocols, but the Throny didn't know everything about human capabilities. Captain, called out Dr. Nicole Gray from her station. She was the ship's science officer, though her true loyalties remained unclear. We're approaching the coordinates marked as Boundary Sector 7. Jake Turner, the first officer, studied the navigation charts. The maps end right about here. Beyond this point, there's nothing but warnings in every known language. Steady course, Bill ordered. His heart pounded in his chest. Was he about to make the biggest mistake of his life? Deep in Earth's military command center, Lieutenant Amy Foster sat at her terminal. Rows of screens showed the edge of human space from every angle. The defensive grid hummed with silent power. Waiting. "Commander Nash," Amy called out. "We have movement. 3 unidentified vessels approaching our border." Owen Nash rushed to her station. His gray hair showed years of service protecting Earth's boundaries. "Define unidentified." "Throny Empire design, sir. But they've modified their ships with human technology." Owen's face grew stern. "Sound the alert. Activate the response protocols." Lights shifted from blue to yellow throughout the complex. Personnel hurried to their stations. This wasn't another probe. This was a deliberate test of human resolve. In her office at the academy, Sarah Walsh put down her coffee cup. The historian had spent 20 years studying every record of human first contact attempts, but certain files remained classified even to her. "Professor Walsh?" Her assistant knocked at the door. "The news feeds are reporting unusual activity at the border." Sarah stood quickly. If the Throny were crossing the line, everything could change. Her research suggested that human isolation wasn't just policy, it was survival. The 3 Throny scout ships moved forward in precise formation. Captain Edwards felt sweat on his palms despite the cool ship temperature. "Sensors detecting energy buildup ahead," Nicole reported. "It's not just a shield. It's something else entirely." Jake frowned at his console. "Captain, I recommend we stop here. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our database." "Continue forward," Bill ordered, though doubt crept into his voice. The first ship crossed the invisible boundary. Instantly, every system aboard began to shut down. But this time, something different happened. The ship's lights flickered between human green and alien blue colors. Computer systems switched between languages faster than anyone could read them. "Captain," Nicole shouted, "the ship's AI is interacting with something. It's like 2 systems are fighting for control." On Earth, the command center filled with activity. Owen watched multiple screens showing the Throny vessels. "They've crossed," Amy said. "Border defense is activating, but the response pattern is different from historical data." "How different?" "Instead of just disabling them, the system appears to be teaching them something." Owen's eyes widened. This was new. Every historical incident had ended with ships returned, empty and crews too frightened to speak. But now something was happening that no Earth commander had seen before. Back aboard the Explorer, the ship's main computer displayed information in both human and Throny languages. Mathematical formulas appeared and disappeared. Scientific principles scrolled across every screen. "This is impossible," Jake muttered. "The computer is showing us technology we don't understand, physics that shouldn't work." Nicole's instruments went wild. Quantum field theory beyond our knowledge. Dark matter manipulation. The computers are receiving data dumps about technologies centuries beyond both human and Throny science. Bill realized with growing horror what was happening. They're not just stopping us, they're showing us why we shouldn't be here. The second ship experienced similar transformations. Its weapon systems displayed their own limitations alongside theoretical improvements that could destroy entire solar systems. The crew watched in shock as their most advanced weapons were compared to technologies they couldn't even comprehend. "My God," Nicole whispered, "if humans kept developing at this rate without the boundaries." She didn't finish the sentence. Everyone on the bridge understood. The isolation wasn't to protect humans from the galaxy. It protected the galaxy from what humans might become. Sarah Walsh received an encrypted message. Opening it revealed new information about humanity's early space expansion. Her hands shook as she read. The first human ships to explore deep space hadn't found empty worlds. They'd found civilizations too primitive to detect Earth ships. Human scientists had discovered they could quietly advance technology decades beyond anyone else before being noticed. The decision to isolate wasn't fear. It was responsibility. In the third Throny ship, systems began displaying battle simulations. Each scenario showed Throny forces against various galactic races. Then the computer added human vessels to the simulations. Every single outcome resulted in total destruction of all participants within minutes. The humans are teaching us, Captain Edwards said slowly. They're showing us exactly why no one crosses their border. Earth Command received confirmation. The 3 ships had stopped dead in space exactly at the boundary line. Their crews remained unharmed but deeply changed by what they'd witnessed. Sir, Amy reported to Owen. The ships are backing away slowly, but our systems detected something else. What? The human border defense shared specific technology limitations with their computers, making their weapons only half as effective against any target. Owen understood immediately. By crossing the line, the Throne had gained tactical disadvantages that would last for years, not through force, but through knowledge itself. President Walker called for an emergency session. His staff gathered in the war room, including Secretary White, Adams, and Secretary Jensen. The Throne crossed our borders, Walker stated, but our response worked exactly as designed. They now understand why we maintain isolation. Mr. President, Claire Adams said carefully, if word spreads about what the Throne experienced, others might be curious enough to test our boundaries. Let them try, Walker replied. Every ship that crosses will learn the same lesson. We're not hiding our strength. We're protecting others from witnessing it. Back in space, the 3 Throne ships limped away from human borders. Their crews sat in silence, processing what they'd seen. Captain Edwards finally understood the choice he'd made years ago to serve the Throne. His understanding of human capabilities remained limited, even now. The Galactic Council received the Throne reports with growing alarm. Ambassador Klethnar reviewed the data multiple times before believing it. The humans didn't damage the ships, he announced to the assembly. They educated them. They showed the Throne exactly why isolation benefits everyone. The Qatari ambassador trembled. Knowledge as a weapon. They turned curiosity into fear without firing a single shot. As news spread across the galaxy, the mystery of human space deepened. The border remained inviolate, but now curiosity mixed with understanding. Humanity had found a way to maintain their isolation without aggression, turning trespassers into advocates for the very boundaries they'd tried to cross. The galactic map still ended at human space, but now everyone knew it wasn't because anyone was forbidden to cross. It was because crossing taught you why you shouldn't have tried. The humans had learned to use knowledge itself as their greatest defense, turning potential enemies into unwitting guardians of their isolation. The emergency summons arrived at United Earth headquarters in the middle of the night. Ambassador Luke Peters grabbed his briefcase and headed for the shuttle. War could start with a single diplomatic failure, and this day would test humanity's commitment to isolation. On the human delegation's ship, Deputy Greg Wilson studied the urgent documents. The Throne Empire claims we attacked their ships. Kate Johnson, the legal counselor, shook her head. They have no proof. Our systems didn't fire a single shot. Luke Peters looked through the shuttle window at the stars. They're not claiming physical attacks. They're claiming we made their ships vulnerable to other threats. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension when the human delegation arrived. Hundreds of alien species gathered in their traditional seating arrangements. The massive viewscreen showed damaged Throne ships, their weapon systems operating at reduced efficiency. Vexera of the Throne Empire stood before the council. His voice carried across the vast chamber. We sought peaceful contact, yet the humans sabotaged our defense systems. You entered restricted space without permission, Luke Peter responded calmly. Our protocols were followed exactly. An elderly Qatari ambassador raised his wing claw. The Throne ship showed damage consistent with pirate attacks that succeeded because human systems weakened their shields. Luke exchanged glances with his team. This was more complex than simple border violations. Thousands of light years away, Captain Brandon Smith commanded the Defense Fleet Gamma. His bridge crew monitored the developing crisis through secure channels. Captain, his tactical officer Sarah Roberts called out. Pirates have been more active near Throne space recently. 3 attacks in the past week. And the Throne's modified weapons couldn't defend properly, Brandon said grimly. Exactly as our border systems intended. The USS Thunder, Brandon's flagship, maintained position inside human space. Its sensor arrays tracked every ship movement in nearby sectors. The other ships in his fleet, the Dawn, the Lightning, and the Storm, formed a protective screen. "Sir," Science Officer Kelly Moore reported, "something unusual. Our long-range sensors detect structures that shouldn't exist. Ships performing maneuvers that violate known physics." Brandon smiled slightly. "Let's give our guests a proper demonstration." Back in the council chamber, Vexra continued his accusations. "Human technology has defenses we cannot comprehend. They use this advantage not for peace but for psychological warfare." Luke Peters stood. "We've maintained isolation for 300 years without attacking anyone. Your ships entered our space despite warnings. Our systems responded with information, not weapons." The viewing screen shifted. It showed videos from the Throny ships during their border crossing. Mathematical equations appeared. Physics demonstrations played. Complex scientific data scrolled endlessly. "Education?" Vexra hissed. "Education that makes us weaker against others." "Knowledge of your limitations," Luke corrected. "We showed you why crossing our borders serves no purpose. Your ships learned that their technology, even when modified with stolen human designs, remains insufficient." Ambassador Klethnar raised his primary appendage. "The humans speak truth. Their response matched historical records. No violence. Only revelation." Outside the station, Brandon Smith initiated the demonstration. "All ships execute Maneuver Delta 9. The defense fleet began moving. To other species' sensors, the ship seemed to disappear and reappear simultaneously in different locations. The massive vessels performed turns that should have torn them apart. Energy readings defied every law of physics known to galactic civilization. "Helm," Brandon ordered. "Plot course through the asteroid field." "Sir, that's suicide at these speeds." "Execute." The fleet entered the asteroid belt at incredible velocity, but instead of collision, the ships passed through solid rock as if it weren't there. Quantum tunneling on a scale no other race could achieve. In the council, new sensor data arrived. The Qatari ambassador's feathers dropped in shock. "The human fleet, they're demonstrating capabilities that we've never recorded." Vexra stared at the readings. Ships passing through matter, appearing in multiple locations simultaneously. "This is not technology. This is something else." "This is what you seek to understand," Luke Peters said seriously, "and why we choose isolation. Your people modified ships with stolen human technology, but couldn't grasp the underlying principles. That partial knowledge made you vulnerable." Greg Wilson pulled up technical data. "The physics concepts our border systems shared with your ships were carefully selected. They showed you the gaps in your understanding without revealing our actual capabilities," Kate Johnson added. "International law recognizes our right to defend our borders. We chose the most peaceful method possible, revealing truth rather than using force." The council fell silent. For the first time, many species truly understood human isolation. It wasn't fear or hostility. It was protection, for both sides. Vexra's shoulders slumped. "Our emperor believed we could match human technology through acquisition and modification. He was wrong. All empires make that mistake," Luke said gently. "Human development follows different paths. We understand quantum mechanics intuitively. We see space-time differently. These aren't advantages you can gain through theft or study." Brandon's fleet continued its display. Ships folded space around themselves, creating localized gravitational fields. They demonstrated the ability to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Each maneuver proved that human technology had evolved beyond comprehension. "Sir," Sarah Roberts warned, "we're detecting energy buildup from several observation posts. Other species are trying to record our demonstrations." "Let them," Brandon replied. "It's time they understand why isolation benefits everyone." Chu. In the chamber, Klethnar proposed a solution. The Throny accusations should be withdrawn. Human response was within their rights. We should instead discuss preventing future incidents. Vexra looked at his delegation. Finally, he spoke. "We withdraw our complaint. The Emperor will have to reconsider our approach to human space. Luke Peters nodded. We suggest all races respect our boundaries. We remain open to communication through proper channels, but physical contact remains restricted. As the session ended, alien ambassadors compared notes. The legendary human isolation now made sense. Beings who could bend physics itself needed distance from those who couldn't. Brandon's fleet finished its demonstration and returned to patrol routes. The message had been delivered clearly. Humans possessed capabilities that other species couldn't even detect properly, let alone counter. In the months that followed, pirates attacking ships with human-modified technology found their tasks easier. Word spread quickly about the human knowledge curse. Any civilization attempting to incorporate human technology would find their defenses compromised. The Qatari ambassador filed a report summarizing the incident. Humans maintain isolation not from weakness but from overwhelming strength. Their technology operates on principles we cannot fully comprehend. Contact attempts result in education that reveals our own limitations. Recommendation: continue respecting human boundaries. They protect us from glimpsing capabilities too advanced for our understanding. Back on Earth, Luke Peters returned home exhausted but satisfied. His daughter Amy greeted him at the door. Did you save the day, Dad? Saved the peace, he corrected, by making everyone understand why some boundaries shouldn't be crossed. NB. The following weeks, attempted border crossings dropped to 0. The galaxy accepted a new truth. Human space remained isolated because contact brought knowledge of disparities too great to bridge. The map still ended at human boundaries, but now the blank space represented not mystery, but conscious avoidance of overwhelming reality. The Throny Empire rebuilt its defenses using purely native technology. Other species similarly removed any human components they'd acquired. Everyone understood the lesson. Human isolation protected more than humans. It preserved the dignity and safety of every other sentient species in the galaxy. The border demonstrations ended, but their effects echoed across civilizations. Humanity remained alone, but by choice, and the galaxy gratefully accepted this arrangement, finally comprehending that some barriers exist for the benefit of everyone involved. The ancient ship drifted silently through space, its hull marked with symbols that predated most galactic civilizations. Inside the Promethean vessel, Caloreth prepared for a meeting that had waited 5,000 years. On Earth, President Walter King sat in the Oval Office surrounded by his top advisors. Secretary of Defense Claire Adams reviewed security protocols while Secretary of State Paul Jensen checked diplomatic credentials. The Promethean ship has entered our space, Claire reported. They're the oldest known race. If anyone knows our history, it's them. A message appeared on the main screen. Request permission to visit Earth. Ancient agreement requires renewal. Walter leaned forward. Ancient agreement? Nothing in our records mentions an agreement with the Prometheans. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere without triggering any defense systems. Even the most advanced human technology recognized it as safe. Kellereth stepped out at the White House landing pad. His tall, crystalline form reflected the morning sunlight. Mr. President, Kellereth spoke in perfect English, your people's isolationist state is ending its planned duration. In the cabinet room, Kaloreth displayed holographic images. 10,000 years ago, your species discovered space travel. Within 5 years, you had conquered 3 solar systems. The images showed early human ships, designs far more primitive than current technology. Yet even then, humans overwhelmed every obstacle through sheer determination and innovative tactics. Your ancestors' first contact was with my people, Kaloreth continued. We recognized your potential immediately. Within a century of first contact, human technology leapfrogged millions of years of normal development. Claire Adams studied the holograms carefully. These ships used principles we thought we invented recently. But these images show humans, applying them 5,000 years ago. Your people evolved differently than others, Kaloreth explained. Neural patterns optimized for pattern recognition and rapid adaptation. While other species developed incrementally, Humans made quantum leaps in understanding, Paul Jensen interrupted. So when did we choose isolation? When your military accidentally destroyed the Viridian civilization during a simple training exercise. The room fell silent. Keelereth showed images of the incident. A human fleet practicing defensive maneuvers had unknowingly triggered solar flares across multiple star systems. An entire civilization vanished in days, through no malicious intent. The horror affected your people deeply, Keelereth said. Your leaders met with mine. Together we created the containment protocol. The president asked the obvious question. Why isolate? Why not help us control these abilities? Because control isn't the issue, Keelereth replied. Understanding is. Your minds process quantum physics intuitively. What takes other species decades to grasp, you comprehend instantly. This isn't just advanced technology, it's a different way of thinking. Light years away, Beth Cooper commanded the exploration vessel Venture. Her ship detected an unusual signal pattern while surveying empty space near the isolation boundary. Captain, Science Officer Ryan Hayes reported, we're receiving a message. It's not from any known source. Can you decode it? It's already in English, Captain. Someone wants to meet with us. They call themselves the Collector. In the meeting room, a figure materialized from pure energy. The Collector stood before Beth's crew as a shifting form of light and shadow. I have observed your species for centuries, the Collector stated. I document civilizations across the universe. Your isolation intrigues me. Why? Beth asked directly. Because you chose to hide not from threats, but from being the threat. Most species isolate from fear. Humans isolate from responsibility. The Collector showed them a three-dimensional map of human brain structure. Your neural development uniquely supports simultaneous processing of multiple realities. You naturally understand concepts that drive other species insane. Ryan Hayes examined the data carefully. These patterns suggest we process quantum states as easily as classical physics. That's impossible. Not impossible. Different, the Collector corrected. Your species developed warfare to an art form because you see all possible outcomes simultaneously. Every battle becomes a quantum calculation. Back on Earth, Keelereth continued his explanation. The Prometheans were the only race equipped to understand your unique characteristics. We helped establish borders that would remain until your species matured enough to control its potential. How mature do we need to be? Walter asked. Mature enough to choose interaction without domination, to share knowledge without overwhelming others, to prevent accidental destruction through careless use of power. Claire Adams looked skeptical. We've had 300 years of isolation. Are we ready now? Keelereth displayed new images. Recent incidents suggest you've learned control. The Throne received education instead of destruction. Your diplomatic solutions prevented war when accusations arose. The Collector shared similar observations with Beth's crew. Human development reached a critical point. Initially, your species feared its own power. Now you use that power responsibly. But why the mystery? Beth asked. Why let the galaxy fear us? Fear creates respect. Unknown dangers generate caution. If other species fully understood your capabilities, they would either worship you as gods or unite to destroy you out of jealousy. Back in the cabinet room, Paul Jensen raised concerns. If we end isolation, what happens next? Do we join galactic society? No, Keelereth said firmly. You maintain boundaries but open controlled channels. Trade occurs through intermediaries. Knowledge exchanges happen through filters. The Collector provided additional context to the Venture crew. I've watched species encounter humans without proper preparation. The inferiority complex destroys civilizations from within. They lose faith in their own development paths when confronted with human capabilities. Ryan Hayes understood immediately. So isolation protects their psychological development as much as our physical boundaries. Precisely. Many species reach technological plateaus believing they approached peak achievement. Exposure to human development would show them their limitations, potentially ending all progress. Keloreth presented the Promethean Council's proposal. We suggest a hybrid approach. Human ships can operate outside your space using Promethean technology that masks your true capabilities. Diplomatic relations occur through established protocols. Scientific exchange happens with careful restriction. Walter King considered the options. What if we choose to maintain full isolation? That option remains. The agreement renews at your discretion. However, the galaxy has changed in 300 years. New threats emerge that even humans cannot ignore forever. The Collector shared final wisdom with Beth Cooper. Your isolation served its purpose, protected both humanity and others during your species' psychological maturation. But evolution requires adaptation. Perpetual isolation becomes another form of stagnation. As the Collector faded away, Beth realized humanity faced a choice: remain hidden forever or risk carefully controlled interaction with the galaxy. On Earth, the cabinet debated long into the night. The Promethean ship waited patiently for their decision. Every choice carried consequences spanning thousands of years. Walter finally spoke. We'll accept the hybrid approach. Controlled exposure, protected interaction, but we won't hide forever. Keloreth nodded. Wisdom earned through experience. The galaxy will learn to interact with humanity gradually. Your maps may expand, but your borders will evolve rather than disappear. The decision would reshape galactic civilization. Human isolation had served its purpose. Now new chapters would begin, written carefully to protect both human dignity and galactic stability. The Promethean ship departed carrying humanity's choice. Across the galaxy, the age of complete isolation slowly gave way to controlled contact. The maps would change, but the boundaries would remain, evolving to meet new challenges in a universe where humanity could finally participate without overwhelming others. The galactic map still ended at human space. But now, beyond that edge, lay possibility rather than complete mystery. The evolution of humanity's relationship with the cosmos had entered a new phase, guided by ancient wisdom and hard-earned understanding. In the depths of the United Earth archives, Chief Scientist Ryan Hayes discovered secrets that had remained hidden for 300 years. His team had followed encrypted data trails leading to ancient research facilities. Dr. Hayes, his assistant, Karen Mills, called out, "These files show human experiments from the earliest space exploration days, tests on spatial awareness and quantum manipulation." Ryan pulled up the documents. "Look at these results. Early humans were demonstrating abilities that shouldn't be possible. Children solving equations that took our computers years to calculate. The data revealed humanity's unusual development begun long before space travel. Evolution had given humans neural pathways unique in the known universe. These pathways allowed simultaneous processing of multiple quantum states, a feature that turned deadly when combined with advanced technology. Across space, Admiral Lauren Miller received urgent reports from her border patrol. Her flagship, the USS Horizon, had detected unusual energy patterns building along every sector of the isolation zone. "Admiral," reported Aaron Brooks from Tactical, "the energy signatures match defensive grid activation, but at levels we've never recorded." Eva Thompson from Communications added, "All border stations report the same readings. Something's happening along the entire perimeter." Lauren studied the data carefully. "How large are we talking?" "Galaxy-wide, ma'am. The entire isolation boundary is responding simultaneously." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassador Klethnar called for order as species representatives argued among themselves. "The energy buildup suggests significant changes coming to human space," Klethnar announced. "We must prepare for whatever follows." The Zexili ambassador raised a concern. If humans are modifying their borders, they might be preparing for expansion. Or contraction, countered the Qatari representative. In deep space near the isolation boundary, unauthorized ships had gathered. Smugglers, pirates, and curiosity seekers monitored the energy fluctuations, hoping for an opportunity. One pirate captain, Sam Curtis, commanded a small fleet. "If their defenses drop even slightly, we can slip through and salvage some of that impossible tech," His crew prepared boarding equipment and scanning devices. But they found themselves waiting as the energy continued to build without releasing. Back in the archives, Ryan made a breakthrough discovery. Karen, look at this. The isolation protocol wasn't just about protecting others from human technology. It was about protecting humans from themselves. The files showed psychological profiles from early space explorers. Human minds, while capable of incredible feats, struggled with the moral weight of accidental destruction. The Viridian incident had triggered a species-wide psychological crisis. Collective guilt, Ryan muttered. Entire research programs dedicated to preventing similar accidents. No wonder our ancestors chose isolation. President Walter King received an unexpected visitor. Dale Martin, former ambassador and current director of cosmic relations, arrived with vital information. Mr. President, our observers have noted something important. The galaxy's development has accelerated in our absence. Many species have matured significantly. How so? Without human contact, they've developed along their own paths. The Qatari achieved major breakthroughs in crystalline technology. The Throne Empire reformed after their border incident, focusing on defensive rather than offensive development. Claire Adams, the defense secretary, added her analysis. Our isolation gave them space to grow. Now they might be ready for limited contact. The energy along the border reached critical levels. Admiral Miller ordered all ships to maximum alert. Status. Whatever's happening, she told her crew. We need to be ready. The entire galaxy is watching. In the council chamber, Klethnar made an announcement that shocked everyone. The Promethean ship has returned with a message. They request all species representatives prepare for a historic announcement. Kaloreth's voice filled the chamber, through holographic projection. After 5 millennia, the containment protocol approaches its conclusion. Humanity has reached a decision regarding their future interaction with the galaxy. Tension filled the room as every ambassador waited for the revelation. Ryan Hayes, now working directly with the president's team, presented his findings. Mr. President, we've been wrong about one fundamental aspect. Our isolation wasn't just punishment or protection, it was evolution. He displayed neural scans comparing current humans to historical data. 300 years of isolation allowed our species to adapt to our own capabilities. We're literally evolving toward better control of quantum awareness. The energy surge hit its peak. Suddenly, the defensive grid changed its configuration. Instead of an impenetrable barrier, it transformed into a series of controlled access points. Kaloreth continued his announcement. Humanity will transition from complete isolation to selective interaction. Controlled trade routes will open. Cultural exchange programs will begin with volunteer species. Scientific collaboration will occur through strict protocols. The gallery erupted in discussion. For the first time in 300 years, contact with humans would be possible. But the transition brought immediate challenges. Sam Curtis and his pirate fleet attempted to rush the opening access points. They found the modified defenses just as effective as before. Their ships were stopped instantly, not by force, but by complete system shutdown. Captain, Curtis's second-in-command, warned, the human ships are at these access points. They're enforcing the new protocols. Indeed, human patrol vessels now operated outside the old boundary line. They didn't attack the pirates, but used technological superiority to disable and contain them. Ambassador Dale Martin delivered Earth's formal statement to the Council. We recognize our responsibility to the galaxy. Our capabilities remain unchanged, but our approach evolves. Interaction will occur through controlled channels designed to benefit all species. The Qatari ambassador stood. What guarantees do we have that human interaction won't overwhelm our civilizations? The same guarantees as before, Dale replied. Human diplomats will undergo rigorous training. Technology exchange will be gradual. Cultural contact will begin through virtual means before physical meetings. Ryan Hayes joined the diplomatic team to explain the scientific aspects. Our neural development has stabilized. Early humans struggled with quantum awareness, leading to accidents. Current humans have adapted to these abilities. We can now interact safely. The Zexili ambassador tentatively asked, Would humans share knowledge about quantum consciousness, development? Through controlled programs, Ryan confirmed. We'll help other species explore these concepts at their own pace, preventing the psychological overwhelm that once concerned us. In the following months, the galaxy adapted to humanity's new approach. Limited trade routes opened, bringing human innovations to carefully selected markets. Cultural exchange programs allowed for learning without direct contact. Scientific conferences occurred in neutral space stations designed for mixed species interaction. The maps of the galaxy slowly evolved. The blank space beyond human borders filled with new markings. Controlled trade routes appeared as thin lines crossing the old boundary. Diplomatic stations marked with special symbols showed where contact was possible. Admiral Miller's fleet now patrolled not just borders but travel routes. Human ships assisted rather than avoided other species. When a fleet of refugees fled war in the Outer Rim, human vessels provided escort and protection through their space, demonstrating that power could be used for mercy. President King addressed the nation from the Oval Office. We remain unique in the galaxy, but uniqueness doesn't require isolation. Our strength serves better as protection for the vulnerable than as a source of fear for our neighbors. The pirates learned quickly that the new system wasn't weakness. Attempts to exploit the access points met with immediate response. The controlled opening provided order rather than chaos. Karen Mills, now Ryan's research partner, made a profound observation. The isolation worked. Human society evolved to handle our capabilities responsibly. Now we can apply that responsibility to galactic interaction. Years passed. The galaxy adjusted to humanity's presence. Trade flourished along approved routes. Scientific understanding advanced through careful collaboration. Most importantly, the fear that had defined human interaction with the cosmos gave way to cautious respect. The Prometheans eventually departed, their mission complete. Keloreth's final words to humanity were simple. You have proven worthy of your power. Use it wisely. Ambassador Klethnar filed a final report for Council archives. The human solution demonstrates that isolation, properly applied, can lead to integration. They protected others not through weakness, but through restraint. Now, as they rejoin galactic society, they do so as responsible members rather than dominant forces. The map still showed special markings around human space, but now these boundaries represented control points rather than barriers. The blank space had transformed into areas of managed interaction, where the galaxy could benefit from human capabilities without fear of being overwhelmed. The title, "The Galactic Map Ends at Human Space," became a phrase of respect rather than fear. It now meant, where careful management of incredible power begins. Humanity had proven that the greatest strength lies not in what you can do, but in knowing when and how to use your abilities for the benefit of all. In the end, the maps expanded to include humanity not as a feared anomaly, but as an essential part of galactic civilization. The borders remained, evolved, and purposeful, protecting not through division but through wisdom earned across 3 centuries of solitude.